Xbox as we know it is officially dead. It no longer competes with PlayStation. This is how Xbox One killed an entire brand. If you've seen my latest video, you know Xbox was the reason I got into gaming. What you don't know is that I definitely played the Xbox One before you did. How? Well, I just happened to work at EA at the time as a game tester, and I got to experience the console before the public. And guess what? I still bought the console at launch. That turned out to be a mistake. When Microsoft launched the Xbox One in late 2013, it represented the company's most ambitious attempt to redefine what a video game console could be. Marketed not only as a machine for gaming, but as an all-in-one entertainment system, the Xbox One was envisioned as the centerpiece of the modern living room. A single hub for games, television, music, and internet connectivity. Yet, what began as a bold technological experiment soon became a cautionary tale of corporate overreach, miscommunication, and brand identity crisis. The Xbox One's decade-long life cycle ultimately reshaped Microsoft's approach to gaming, setting in motion the company's long transition from console manufacturer to multi-platform content provider. Development of the Xbox One began in the early 2010s under the leadership of Don Mattrick, then president of Microsoft Interactive Entertainment Business. The company entered the project on a high note. The Xbox 360 had been a massive success, particularly in North America, establishing Xbox as a legitimate competitor to Sony's PlayStation. However, Microsoft's vision for the Xbox One expanded beyond gaming. The company sought to position the device as an integrated media center capable of unifying television, internet streaming, and interactive entertainment under one platform. From a technical perspective, the Xbox One introduced a Blu-ray drive, HDMI pass-through for live TV, and shipped with a second-generation Kinect sensor. But the biggest problem was that at launch, the inclusion of the Kinect was mandatory, inflating the console's price to $499 USD. And that price point was a full $100 higher than Sony's competing PlayStation 4. The Xbox One was unveiled on May 22, 2013 at a globally streamed event that would soon become infamous. Instead of showing games, Microsoft focused almost entirely on entertainment integration, live television switching, voice controls, Skype functionality, and partnerships with sports and media networks. Phrases like TV and sports echoed throughout the presentation, which gave little attention to actual gameplay. This messaging alienated the core gaming audience. Enthusiasts who had supported the Xbox 360 for its multiplayer and shooter-heavy catalog now found themselves faced with a device seemingly more concerned with replacing their cable box rather than delivering games. The situation worsened during E3 2013 when Microsoft confirmed that the Xbox One would employ strict digital rights management, DRM, and always-online authentication policies. Physical games would need to be registered to a single account. Used games would be restricted or subject to publisher-defined fees. And this led to the most famous clapback of the console warfare.
This is how you share your games on PS4. Thanks.
The backlash was immediate and severe. Critics and consumers accused Microsoft of attempting to eliminate game ownership. And this led to one of the most dismissive responses in corporate history.
And fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Right.
By late June 2013, Microsoft reversed course, removing the online requirement and reinstating disc-based ownership. However, the damage was done. Public trust had been broken, and Sony capitalized on the moment by presenting the PlayStation 4 as the opposite of Xbox's vision: simpler, cheaper, and explicitly for the players. The fallout from the disastrous launch led to a major leadership shakeup. In July 2013, Don Mattrick left Microsoft to join Zynga, and in 2014, Phil Spencer assumed control of the Xbox division. Spencer's philosophy was the inverse of Mattrick's: focus on games first, rebuild trust, and re-establish credibility with the gaming community. Under Spencer's leadership, Microsoft decoupled Kinect from the standard console bundle, dropping the price to $399 USD. This move improved sales but symbolically killed Kinect's relevance. In 2015, Microsoft announced backward compatibility for Xbox 360 titles, a major goodwill gesture that helped restore some faith among some players. During this period, Microsoft also began experimenting with cross-platform services and digital infrastructure improvements, quietly setting the groundwork for its eventual pivot towards Game Pass and ecosystem integration. To maintain relevance, Microsoft launched two significant hardware revisions during the Xbox One's lifespan. The Xbox One S in 2016, which was a smaller redesigned model featuring 4K video playback, HDR support, and internal power supply. It also removed the dedicated Kinect port, signaling the permanent end of motion control as a core Xbox feature. In 2017, the Xbox One X came out. Marketed as the world's most powerful console, this revision significantly boosted processing and graphical power, enabling native 4K gaming. The hardware was widely praised, but without a comparable surge in exclusive content, its commercial impact remained limited. Despite these upgrades, the Xbox One consistently trailed the PlayStation 4 in global sales. By the end of the generation, estimates placed Xbox One shipments between 50 and 60 million units, compared to more than 117 million PS4s sold. Software remained a critical weak point for Xbox throughout the generation. While Sony delivered a steady stream of acclaimed exclusives, Bloodborne, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Spider-Man, Microsoft struggled to maintain momentum. The Xbox One did produce notable titles, like Sunset Overdrive in 2014, which I'll say again is by far the best Xbox One exclusive, Ori and the Blind Forest, another spectacular gem, Quantum Break, Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2, and Gears 5. But unfortunately, none reached the cultural prominence of PlayStation's first-party lineup. Many of these games were also ported to PC, further weakening the sense of exclusivity that once defined the Xbox brand. And here comes the most truthful Phil Spencer quote that sums up perfectly what this video is all about. The Xbox One generation was the worst generation for us to lose. His reasoning was pragmatic. The 8th console generation coincided with the rise of digital ecosystems and user libraries. Players built massive digital collections, achievements, and friend networks tied to a single platform. Losing those users to PlayStation during this pivotal era meant losing them, and their further purchases, seemingly forever. Facing a shrinking console base, Microsoft shifted its long-term strategy. The company began investing heavily in subscription-based models, culminating in the 2017 launch of Xbox Game Pass. The service offered unlimited access to a rotating library of games, including first-party titles at launch, for a monthly fee. While initially framed as a consumer-friendly innovation, Game Pass marked a philosophical transformation. Xbox was no longer defined by its hardware. It was now a service that spanned console, PC, and eventually cloud streaming. This pivot was a direct response to the Xbox One struggles, and it signaled the brand's gradual departure from traditional console competition. Alongside Game Pass, Microsoft began acquiring development studios: Ninja Theory, Playground Games, Obsidian Entertainment, Double Fine, and later Bethesda, and much more, aiming to secure a robust pipeline of first-party content. However, most of these acquisitions occurred too late in the Xbox One lifecycle to reverse its momentum. The Xbox One generation fundamentally reshaped how Microsoft approached gaming. The early missteps, confusing messaging, anti-consumer policies, overpriced hardware, and a lack of exclusives eroded much of the goodwill built during the Xbox 360 era. Even though later hardware revisions and services like Game Pass repaired some of the brand's reputation, the console's identity never fully recovered. In comparison, Sony's consistent message and strong first-party portfolio allowed the PlayStation 4 to dominate both the market and public consciousness. As a result, many players built their digital ecosystems on PlayStation, locking themselves into that platform for the next generation. When the Xbox Series X and Series S launched in 2020, they entered a landscape profoundly shaped by the Xbox One's legacy. Microsoft no longer positioned Xbox strictly as a console line, but as a broader network, spanning devices, services, and operating systems. In many ways, the Xbox One's failure became the catalyst for Microsoft's modern, platform-agnostic approach to gaming. The history of the Xbox One is one of ambition, misjudgment, and reinvention. Conceived as a device to unify entertainment, it instead fractured Xbox identity. Its disastrous reveal and early policies alienated the very audience that had carried the brand through its most successful era. Leadership changes and later course corrections mitigated some of the damage, but by the time the console found its footing, the market had already moved on. Ultimately, the Xbox One stands as both a technological milestone and a corporate cautionary tale. It demonstrated how quickly a brand can lose its way when it prioritizes vision over audience, and more importantly, how difficult it is to rebuild trust once lost. The lessons learned from its failures defined Microsoft's future, from backward compatibility and subscription services to the eventual embrace of cross-platform play. The Xbox One did not simply underperform. It redefined what Xbox would become. In that sense, it was the first domino, the moment a console's failure slowly but surely turned the Xbox brand into the ship of Theseus, slowly decaying piece by piece, each replaced throughout time until not a single piece of the Xbox brand was there anymore. Yes, Xbox still exists today, but it has nothing in common with the Xbox we all loved.